Hello there, my name is Luciano Oliveira. I am a Brazilian attorney, and today I'm going to be answering this question. How can I minimize the fees and get the best exchange rate for my money transfer into Brazil? Well, the answer is it depends on if you're sending a smaller amount or a larger amount. For smaller amounts, actually up to $10,000, you can use the so-called apps like Wise, Remitly, Western Union, MoneyGram, and they kind of publish the rates up front so you can kind of easily compare. Now, if you're sending amounts larger than $10,000, you're gonna need to use banks, and for banks, they do not publish their rates up front. So, as a rule of thumb, like commercial banks, like those banks in Brazil, and by the way, the bank where you are abroad is basically going to forward the currency to Brazil. They don't handle the currency exchange. So if you are in the US, for instance, do not ask Chase or Bank of America or Western Union about the rate. They may have a reference rate, and that's all they can do, just to tell you the reference rate. But this rate doesn't mean anything in terms of what you're going to get in Brazil, because it's only the recipient bank in Brazil who's authorized by the Brazilian Central Bank to actually handle the exchange. So although your bank in the US or Europe or in Asia could give you like a reference rate, this is not enforceable, and this is not very meaningful because, again, they are basically just giving you an idea, but they are going to send your currency as is to Brazil. So if you are in the US, and you're using Chase Bank, Chase is going to basically just send the US dollars to Brazil, right? And then the Brazilian bank is going to be the one that's going to pick a spread, which is basically a percentage of your money as their compensation, and it's going to do the exchange, and then it's going to release the reais into the destination account. So our tip over here is that commercial banks traditionally they charge larger spreads like 3 to 5% for two reasons. First, because they do not specialize in currency exchange, so usually they're going to charge more. The operations, the transactions are more costly for commercial banks. And the second reason is because they usually have the end recipient in their ecosystem, right? So they say, you know what, this guy is not going to go anywhere, so I can charge whatever I want and kind of get away with it, right? Now, if you pick a currency exchange bank in Brazil, on the other hand, the currency exchange bank, they know they are there just because you are expecting something better. So they are from the get-go expected to provide you with a better rate. Currency exchange banks, they work usually with currency exchange rates between 2% and 3%. And for really large amounts like, $5 million, for instance, they may be willing to work with something as little as 1.5%. Okay? So these are some of the tips for you to get the best exchange rate possible. Another distinction, in Brazil, we have two reference rates for the US dollar. One is what we call commercial dollar. That's for like transactions, import, export, business to business. And there is a second one that we call the tourism rate, which is basically when people are buying dollars to travel, because they usually buy, of course, like, less money. They're going to buy, $2,000, $5,000. And commercial transactions are usually for a container, for 10 containers, so they could be for $100,000, $200,000. Commercial dollar is actually lower than the US tourism dollar, which again, because of all the friction, banks are going to charge more for this variety of dollar. I hope this information was helpful. If you have a question about this theme, feel free to write it down and follow us for more videos, and see you in the next video.